So, hello everyone. A very good afternoon to all our attendees and esteemed panel members. I would request all participants to kindly place your Zoom audio on mute and have your video switched on so that our panel members can view all participants. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce HRAI, which are a non-profit organization. It is a body established to enable community members to explore, discuss, and understand the current scenarios. This team works primarily on getting subject matter experts together to share their knowledge and provide real-time strategic solution covering all aspects of HR and other business enabling services. HRAI takes an immense pleasure in welcoming you all to our today's panel discussion, The Bigger Picture, Vital Strategies Adopted to Survive the Crisis. Without taking much time, I will start with a quick round of introduction of all our esteemed panel members. To begin with, Mr. Pranav Pandya, Honorary Secretary and Director Geisha, Co-founder and Chairman, Dave Information Technologies Limited. He is a first generation entrepreneur. He has 25 years plus experience in IT business domain. He has a very good understanding of technology, business implications, and local scenarios of both public and private sectors. He is actively guiding his company's team pertaining to India business, corporate governance, legal, and HR function. Welcome, sir. Mr. Nitesh Patel, Secretary General at Federation of Gujarat Industries. He comes with 30 plus years of varied experience. He served the Indian Air Force for 15 years in communication department and 9 years as director sales with 350 staff UK-based BPO. He has organized business delegations, B2B meetings of industries of Gujarat in more than 12 countries from FGI. Welcome, sir. Mr. Amit Saluja, Senior Director and Head of NASSCOM, Center of Excellence, Gandhinagar. He comes with a vast experience of 24 years working with NASSCOM, IBM, General Electric, and RPG Transmission Limited, performing diverse roles with business and technology terms in strategic, marketing and sales, business strategies, IT solution design and product development, process improvement, and program management. Last but not the least, the moderator for today's event, Mr. Gaurang Joshipura. He is a managing director at Zeppelin Systems India Private Limited. He comes with 37 years of immense experience in EPC and ITS domain in manufacturing and process plant industries and has gained expertise in building, grow, and sustain profitable organizations and bring back value to society at large. Without taking much time, I would now request Mr. Gaurang Joshipura to take over this session from here. Over to you, Mr. Gaurang.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And first of all, a very warm welcome from my side also to all the participants, my fellow panelists, and the organizers. A big thank you also to the team HRAI on behalf of all of us for hosting this webinar session, which is topic, as we know, that the bigger picture, vital strategies adopted to survive the crisis. I think this is the topic. I can imagine that it's a subject which is in top of our mind for last few weeks. As this entire situation has been unfolding, and this is a situation where unlike the other crises like natural calamities or wars, economic crisis, which normally affect some parts, some countries, some regions, also within the society, some strata. For example, the share market scam. Many of the people are not affected. Unlike all these things, this is something which has affected almost all the nations, all the populations, everyone. Now, this is a situation, but at the same time, as they say, that more than what happens to us, it is our response to what happens, decides the final impact of that thing on us. And if I simply put it, it is like if it starts raining when we are out in open, how much we get drenched or whether we get drenched is finally depends on how fast or how intelligently we get to the shelter. So I think this webinar comes at a right time where we are trying to see today, it's an endeavor to look for some strategies, some solutions which can help companies to survive in this crisis. And we just, as we heard, that we have got a very hands-on experienced panelist in a various diverse domain. So with these words, I start my questions. We are going to the questions to the panelists. I have decided to go complete the set of questions with one panelist rather than going around, which is my experience. It is better in webinar, unlike our physical sessions. So I'm going through three panelists in the sequence with starting with Nitesh Bhai, and we will Amit will take us through for the startup and manufacturing industry related topics, and Pranav Bhai will be taking care of some of the HR related topics. So my suggestion is that if someone finds initial questions not very relevant, please hang on. We have got good questions and good things coming up for everyone. Nitesh bhai, I would start with you. In this current situation, as you know, that maintaining revenue levels is one of the topmost priorities. At the same time, it is topmost challenge. Can you share your views on how should companies strategize and carry out financial health check as to revenue versus expenses? Because this could be a very key to survival for companies. What are your views on this?
Ideally speaking, Gaurang bhai, this COVID-19 has left everybody into a lurch. It's very difficult to go into details as to what is going to happen in the times to come. Even if you look at the central Gujarat industries, as the permissions got open, we have around 12 to 13,000 industries in and around Vadodara, in and around central Gujarat. But as after the Janta curfew, after the first lockdown and till the lockdown 3.0, the industries have not been able to make up their mind as to whether to begin or not begin their operations. Out of almost 12,000 plus industries, hardly 2,000 industries have applied for permissions, and 350 are the essential goods producers who have been allowed since beginning by the Ministry of Home Affairs first order. So what is the fear actually? Industrialists and all the operating units have actually not got a clear picture as to what's going to happen next. But let us assume that 17th would be the deadline, and all the economic activities, all the industries, all the trade, all the commerce would begin, past by 17th May. So the question to me is managing revenues. COVID is such a pandemic which we do not know as to when and in what parameters, in what volume the trade is going to resume and in what particular time. But having said that, I personally believe that everyone who's into the planning has to look into a quarterly, 6 monthly, annually, and some sort of a long-term plan. As far as the revenue, first you have to sit with your budget of the last 3 years and look at the various heads and subheads and find out as to what can be done to kind of maintain, sustain, or get the revenue or the income to a point wherein we have been running the business for say last 2-3 years. It's very, very difficult today to tell because The supply chains are not there. The transportation is not in place. Workforce, the major to run a show, is not available. Almost all the migrant workers have gone back to their native places. Having said that, you have to look at the heads of all your income sources and try and find out ways, calculating the current position where you are and what's going to happen next. So you have to check every single head and try to come to a realistic figure wherein the uh, upcoming time you're going to maintain the income on all the heads. Likewise, I would suggest that to begin with, it being a very, very grave situation, initially all the members should think of nothing less than 35-40%. There could be industries which are completely on the verge of shutdown. They can go even further to curb their income heads, reduce the each income in the different heads, and likewise plan to curb also the expenses. The major thing one can think of is on various expenses which are overhead expenses, which are unwanted expenses. And whilst you're thinking of the income, you have to save from every single angle. So you have to find out the best sources of raw material. You have to compare, you have to ask for discounts. You have to go for all the steps that are required to cut down your buying expenses. So that is income side. Likewise, as the government has come up with the ruling that whether the company is running or not, you have to pay to all the employees salaries and wages. So you have to find out the ways as to, it's an advisory, but it's not a compulsion. So how best you could curtail your expenses on the salary and wages. Likewise, the overheads and running the day-to-day show. One has to plan quarterly basis, and I should think that there has to be a review done every 3 months to find out as to where they are. This is what I'll have to submit.
Thank you very much. And I think from my side, one point I have seen that the crisis and challenges always, they are the mother of innovations. I'm sure that next few months or few years will be really, really, like 2009 crisis, we saw that whatever we negotiated and did very innovatively, then even when we came out of the crisis, it was always, it added into the bottom line, nevertheless. Thank you very much.
True.
I continue with the next question with you, Nitesh Bhai. This is from your specific role with FGI also, and on the other side with SMEs. Because SMEs, MSMEs, they have the maximum limitation and maximum challenges in this current crisis.
Right.
And that's why they would also look upon government to one or the other way support. So they will have different types of expectations from government. And as in FGI, you are communicating on either side. I would like to to share that which are some of the topmost expectations SMEs and MSMEs have from government to survive in this lockdown. And along with that, if you could also touch base that what is the linkage and communication that you are as a FGI you are providing between industry and government.
That's a very relevant and relative question to my profile. Ideally, as I was telling, that no sooner the Janata curfew was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister, and then MHA order came in to begin with some sort of essential products industries like pharma, like medical equipments, like ancillaries of pharma, and hygiene products, oral care, and such other cleaning materials and all. So initially that was being allowed, and FGI had a major role to play because the Vadodara district collector had assigned 3 associations to send in recommendations along with the member companies as to they are into essential products. So that began very quickly, and somewhere around 350 companies were from central Gujarat were allowed to start functioning. As time passed by and the lockdown 2.0 came in, rural industries, irrespective of the categories, were allowed to begin their operations. So all the rural were started. Now, it was all the manual permissions going on. So the FGI represented to the government, to the district administration, and converted that physical application process into digitalization and scanning over to the general manager DIC Baroda, who was authorized to sign. Likewise, all the other districts also followed, and almost everywhere the permissions were made online for rural. Then we made representation to the Prime Minister as well as to the Chief Minister. That's it has been a record in your tenure that the foreign direct investment and the foreign exchange that the country has earned. Once it was a record in 1617 that it was of 60% of the last 10 years forex that we got in this regime. So why don't you not allow exports into a big way? So FGI took it up with the DGFT. Initially, the government had banned export of APIs in the pharma sector. So we took it up with the government. That was opened up. And slowly, the MHA order mentioned that if at all, and even we represented the Chief Minister and the industry's secretary and all. So there was a notification which said that exports, export-oriented units, and pending export orders within the city can also start their operations. So slowly that happened. We have been constantly representing to the various authorities, ranging from the district collector till the Honorable Prime Minister. If I go through the date sheet on the 9th of March, FGI represented to DGFT to lift the restrictions on export of APIs. On 23rd March actually, we represented to the Honorable Finance Minister requesting a package for MSMEs, and we specifically raised issues of payments against letter of credit, renewal of bank guarantees, interest payments on working capital, repayment of installments of term loans, EMI payments, power tariff cuts, GST, PF, ESIC, TDS, and importantly, the salary and wages. So these were represented way back on 23rd March, no sooner the lockdown began. On the 7th of April, we also wrote to the Honorable Prime Minister with regards to the similar questions. And we have had sent a letter to Chief Minister and MHA that you should also allow MSMEs in the city area, but still that has not yet happened, especially in the corporation areas of Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Rajkot, Surat, because they are into red zones. But in the last 2-3 days, we have again made representation to the Industries Commissioner, to the Chief Minister. That's we, as you rightly mentioned, that we have to stay with this virus, and so let us open up as quickly as possible. I hope that the representation has been heard and the voice has been taken in the right way, and probably we should be able to get some positive. Likewise, we also represent for the wages and salaries to the Honorable Labour Minister, Mr. Thakur, here in Gujarat, that they suddenly raised the daily wages by 14 rupees a day, and which was exorbitant and first time ever. So we hope that that again is being considered. I do not know how far and how quickly it will come.
Right.
And
Nitesh
also,
bhai, this is quite elaborative. Also, could you touch base on some of the expectations, major expectations that SMEs have from government?
Yes, as I was mentioning in the letter of the Finance Minister and then on, MSMEs initially first want to start the business, start the operation. They are facing problems of now, as it is locked down for 2.5 months. The cash flow is a big problem. They do not have finances. Raw material is a big problem because the transportation is not in. So we expect that the government holds hand of the MSMEs and comes up with a proper package for MSMEs, which should include soft loans, which should be given with the same securities that the companies hold with the banks today, and some part of it should be lent as an advance. There is also a story going around that there is a lot of money to be pumped in by Reserve Bank of India. So we have demanded that 40 to 50% of that chunk of amount should go to the MSMEs, because mostly large corporates have their own influences, and every time it so happens that the MSME is left out.
Right.
We have also, so these are certain things which we have thought of being important and taken up ASAP.
Right, right. No, that's really good. I think I'm sure we'll hear from other associations also, and which will be also, I'm sure, for the participants, very important to know that they can always approach these federations and associations when they have certain topics, to either to represent to government, which individually or individual associations may not be able to do it. So thank you,
Indeed.
Nitesh bhai. If time permits, I'll come back for one more questions, but right now I'll move to Amit. Amit, thank you very much. You are not really, not really keeping well yesterday, but still you are here. Thanks for making it possible. But do take care of your health also. Amit, you come from the NASSCOM Center of Excellence, and definitely I understand you are enabling linkages between the startups and various industries, right? And in this point of view, I would like to know your views as to how digital presence strategy can help startups to prepare for future opportunities post pandemic. I mean, your views on it, Amit. Amit, you are mute right now. Amit, can you unmute yourself?
Peter has to come in, I think.
Yeah.
Peter, can you help him? Yeah, okay.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Korangji. And I think you made a very kind of an right point on the focus on the digital. And maybe I'll take a cue from what you just said, correct? Every crisis becomes the mother of the new innovations. And I think that's what is going to happen. From NASSCOM, we are, as you also said, we are building an ecosystem of industries, startups, government, academia, and then trying to make them all together so that the industry challenges gets addressed by the different startup and the technology players. So that's what we do at a broad level. Now, your question on the importance of digital, I think the way we are looking new normal is basically it is accelerating the whole journey of the digital world. What we were expecting digital to take shape maybe in next 2 to 3 years of time, I think it has speed up now. Everything where we are talk of any industry is getting on to the path of digital. I don't think anyone can say that we are not around the digital, whether it is manufacturing industries, whether it is an IT industry, banking industry, healthcare industry, everyone is going through the digital phase. So in a nutshell, I mean, I can say going in the future, digital will definitely rule the world. Now the impact on the startups, I'll say, I think at least for the startups who are in a digital space, this will be a kind of an opportunity in the crisis, the way what we were saying earlier, because it will not be just a choice for every company to adopt the digital, but it will become a compulsion. The constraints that we are having in every industry, and if we have to manage those constraints, whether it is making sure that employees are safe, whether it is making sure that operations are continuing, it has to be done through the digital. So the startups, I think, has a big role to play here, because the large technology companies, they can only have a limited bandwidth. They can only do to certain extent. So in this need of a crisis, I think we will need the help and support from all the startups to come up and then bring in the solutions that can help the different industries in a different way. And it need not be that the solution has to be a complete integrated solution. Even if a one or two small challenge of the industry can be solved through a one small solution, I think it will still be a big help. Because right now in the stage, we can't think of an organization coming up with a whole detailed requirement of these are the different things I need. So it's kind of, and startups, as a startup also, we have to be proactive and then come up with new ideas and suggestions on what we can do to help the industry in this case. So I think, I mean, there is a lot that can be done. And the other thing which I will say is, I think we'll also have to look at how can we repurpose some of our existing solutions. I think this could be a good strategy. For example, I'll say the location tracking system, which is an IoT solution. These were till now, I mean, have been started being in use in the iCards to track the maybe attendance and then maybe the where the employee is. Now that I'm happy to see a few of the startups have come up with a solution to use it as a means to track the social distancing between the employees. So this is just a kind of in one way, the same technology, same solution, it is being used for a different purpose, which is the need of the hour now. So this is just an example, but definitely, I mean, we will need a lot of these examples to come through. And I think AI analytics and IoT will become an important element of this. So.
Right. Thank you, Amit. The another question is on the other side of the spectrum, which is the manufacturing industry. You know, one side is the startup, other side is the manufacturing industry. And what do you think are the challenges you see, you know, in the manufacturing companies they face today in this scenario, and what should be their strategy to manage it?
Correct. Yeah, and I think this is a very important question and very relevant. As Nitesh also said, correct. The out of 12 to 13,000 MSCP industry, which is in and around Baroda, very few only applied for the operation. So which means there are, even the companies feel that there are a lot of challenges in operating under the current scenario. And these scenarios are basically, again, which I'm calling it as a new normal for the manufacturing, correct? The operational constraints which the manufacturing used to operate with is changing. The workforce, I mean, I think the biggest one has become the workforce. The workforce available right now is very less. I mean, we know that a lot of workforce has even kind of migrated, and we don't know when they will come back. So getting a workforce will be a challenge. Then how do we make sure that workforce will feel comfortable in coming to the factory, and then feeling safe, feeling that they will be safe, correct? So that that will be the other factor that will come up. Then the third thing is we are talking of such a long time of a lockdown, and under this thing, the losses have kind of increased a lot. So the capacity of the manufacturing companies to really spend in the different solutions will also become kind of a constraint. So, and then there are supply chain issues are always there, correct? Right now, we even don't know how much of the product demand is, how much of the raw material we will get it at what point of time. So the production planning will become a big challenge. So these are the kind of some of the constraints or the challenges that I'm very sure manufacturing companies will face. So the effort for, I think, every manufacturing company right now should be the focus on three broad things. One is definitely the health and safety will become more and more extremely important right now, and I think everyone is aware of it. And the second thing I'll talk about is on the productivity. So what are the things that we can do that can save us cost at any point of time, whether it is saving energy in the plant, whether it is improving the improving the productivity from the worker, like the worker movement or how much amount of time the worker does, correct? So I think the productivity which we will have, and to do that, there are some innovative, I mean, a very simple, easy to use and a low cost digital solutions are there, which doesn't need a lot of investment and a months of a time to implement, but it can be very handy right now. For example, I was already talking about the location based tracking system to use it to kind of comply for the social distancing norm. So that's the kind of one way. Then the other thing is AR and VR technologies are helping in doing certain operations remotely, where the manager or supervisor need not be at a site where worker is there and then both working together. Supervisor can always advise to the worker through remotely. So that's the other way which is possible. And then the biggest thing which I was talking about, the worker health. So there are sensors based solutions which are very much available that can be integrated with the PPE of the workers, and that can give an online data of the worker health. For example, the worker temperature, worker heartbeat. So which means any kind of a change in the worker health will get automatically reported to the management, and the management can take timely action so that if any case happens, then it can be immediately taken care of. So these are some of the ways, I think that digital can help the manufacturing industry. So, but again, I think it's all, we have to kind of come together and talk about what more simpler way we can help the manufacturing industry.
Thank you very much. And you said we should work together. And I think my one remark here will be, we always talk about value chain. Lot of words, we have been talking about business continuity, VUCA word, yeah, and value chain. I think now is a time when for all of us to put it into action. That we don't talk about, of course, the technology side, but also from the business side. That we don't talk about supplier vendor, but we talk about business partner. And if entire value chain takes care of each other's inventory, each other's cash flow and things, I'm sure we are more we can implement. Definitely we should devise the strategies, but through this probably we can really better implement these strategies. Thank you, Amit. Now to Pranav bhai. Very important topic. Sometimes we call it bottom of pyramid, but finally it's a chain. The topics on HR, right? So as we know that HR is a very significant aspect of business, but when it comes to a challenging situation, it gains much more higher significance, right? And in the current lockdown situation, so to say, we are all remotely connected with our people, and then it's really the HR topics are on a very high priority. Now, with this background, we'd like to hear your views, Pranav bhai, that is there any fallout that HR has seen due to work from home adoption? And I think this is one question, is not only right now in the lockdown, but as we know, at least in the ITTS and those kind of industries, maybe it may remain a long term, because now as I was saying, this is one thing we learned from this crisis. TCS is saying maybe they may continue 20 to 25% of their workforce only working from home because they found it more productive. So the work from home scenario in India and maybe in other industry, then IT also might increase. And in this respect, how do you see this work from home adoption?
Thank you very much. I thank the HRAI as well as you, Gaurang bhai, for welcoming us, and my other colleague panelists too. And so here it goes. In fact, to take on from your words, which you just said a few minutes back, the value add aspect and the basically the VUCA. Those are the things which are actually seeing it right now. They are right now happening. And having said that, without even knowing about it, we have started implementing the definitions which those words brought in. Besides that, it's a well-known fact, and in fact, this is now kind of a very much used dialogue that work from home is the new normal, and everybody is aware about it, whether it is IT as well as non-IT industry overall. One thing also we need to realize is that what was always talked about and what was always kind of expected that it should be used as a work-life balance. Thanks to COVID-19, the massive transformation, the COVID-19 acted as an accelerator, and massive transformation that it brought in was by way of work from home. In fact, the way we are conducting ourselves besides the work in terms of going out and shopping and going out to learn, going out for a exercise and probably whatnot, all those things have changed thanks to COVID-19. And work from home is true not only for the work per se, but for these activities also. So shopping from home and exercise from home and whatnot. Now talking about the all tech and non-tech requisites that goes into work from home, HR overall has to accept it as a dictum. That is an impact that HR has. Work from home has come to the HR as an impact. And therefore, just like what used to be those traditional document and doctrines and guidelines, work from home itself is going to be those guidelines and a very elaborate document which will be used by the company overall in future. Even if we see this pandemic has kind of subsided, but still that document is going to be very much asked for by the customers in order to ensure the business continuity. So believe me, that is going to be a very much of an doctrine or a document that needs to be adopted proactively by HR overall, not only IT, but the other sector also. This also brings out another aspects, Gaurang Bhai, that I would like to emphasize upon, and that is HR always was a significant entity, and especially for us in the IT sector, because by and large, we are having the human being per se, the people-centric and people-driven body or the companies. But overall, HR is now become the business partner of the business. They are the one who are going to drive the entire business continuity and the service delivery momentum. And how, as we all know, will be done by the way in which it kind of brings and engages the entire pool of resources, the human resources that is there in the company together for a common path. So when at Geisha and at my company, Geisha is Gujarat Electronic and Software Industry Association, now a not-for-profit company too. When we all sort of went into a huddle, when we realized that this is going to be, this is looming, work from home is very much looming there. And we went into a huddle in the way in which we went into a huddle in my own company also. So that's where the actual meaning of VUCA was realized by everyone. We were actually seeing all of us sort of anticipating a volatile situation, which we are actually seeing right now. We are actually seeing uncertain and complex scenario, and to top of it, an ambiguous scenario also. If I have to sum up what Nitish Bhai and Amit were mentioning, we are actually fighting a kind of an ambiguity in an uncertain scenario, cutting across the type of businesses that we are involved into. So what was coined as VUCA way back in 1997 by the US Army was a reality that everybody in the world faced. And HR was at the fulcrum as far as planning of the work from home scenario on the VUCA mode was concerned.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. So,
right. Interesting. I have, in continuation with this, work from home, another question also that, this current situation entails not only, as we said, the managing finance and business aspect of it, but of people. And about people also, normally it's when they are, in the office or in very much connection with us. But I think now in the current scenario, there are also these other aspects which were either not there or they were less relevant, and these are like physical health and well-being. We talked about the urgent need of supporting mental health, which was probably earlier never required for our employees and colleagues, resilience, family support, and simply dealing with the uncertainty which we talked about. These are some of the things which were either not there or not very relevant. Now, when all these things are coming up, could you also add some of the things that, how does the importance of these aspects are seen by HR, and how companies, what kind of steps they can do, to also cover these things by HR?
Okay. So, point noted. I would like to start with a Hindustani dictum, "Jaan hai to jahan hai." And also, as many of my friends in my company says, "Jahan hai to jaan hai." So both holds true.
Very true, very true.
So if you look at the depth of those words, the workforce well-being emanates in a very big way. It just blows out of it. And while we are also looking at those in vogue remarks of automation and AI and cloud and AR, VR being used or will be used by non-IT domains in a big time. But one of the major things that we have to look out for is the future of the work, which is going to solely rely on the well-being of the worker, the workforce. And therefore, we have to have the departure from the 24/7 mode, digitally driven economy, which we were used to prior to COVID. And we were talking about work-life balance and whatnot. Now is the time when we have to consider it in a very big way. And we have to try and see that besides the stress, the uncertainties and the depressive mode that, or the moods that pandemic like COVID brings in, has to be removed. And this can be done by a variety of ways. But obviously, HR is again going to play a major role here. And how? HR has to, therefore, categorically, very much be focused on the bodily well-being, not only in these trying times, but from henceforth across, even after when this has subsided. For example, in our own company, we have started, it's an application where we are actually tracking not only the family, not only the personnel's health, but even the family health. And we are also trying to have them have a conversation with the nearby medical help if at all it is required. And thereby we are trying to specify and see to it that the people overall should not feel lonely. We are there, we should be connected. Having said that, also takes care of the emotional and the psychological aspects, because when when you are used to those water cooler talks or the canteen talks or the chai pe charcha and the coffee pe charcha kind of scenario, you have to bring them in the virtual mode, and that's how you have to take care of the emotional and psychological aspects. There is various engagement activities have to be conducted, which we are doing. In fact, believe me, this is first-hand experience that what we have in Dev IT, and in fact, many other companies who are part of Geisha and even on bigger entities across the state. We are fortunate. In fact, I am fortunate to have very good colleague, co-founder Jamin and Vishal and Prerak, who are also my board members, are extremely vigilant about it, and we see to it that the healthy mind is overall sustained, because that ensures healthy body and healthy mind together brings in the business continuity aspect. So it's a circle, believe me.
Right.
This has to go as a DNA of the company. Well-being has to be established as a DNA of the company. And you have to keep on doing good, because that's how it will come back to you. And the sense of responsibility of the employees will pull you through in the trying times as a company. So
Thank
this
you.
is,
Thank you.
there are quite a few points, but time constrained.
Yeah. No, I think you really covered very well, and I must say all the panelists really did a good justice. We have now, we'll switch over to question and answer if it's okay, Pranavbhai.
Sure.
We have quite a lot of questions. I think we'll have 2 questions to each panel members, and participants, don't worry. Rest of the questions will be, diverted to the panelists, and you will get replies in your email or through one or the other medium. We like to cover at least 6 questions, 2 to each panelist, and request to panelists is to keep it crisp and brief as much as possible. One question, Nitesh bhai, it has come, is that which are the skills should be redeveloped to emerge stronger after the crisis? This is about this, unlearn and relearn probably.
Work from home has already, I should not use the word spoil, but has at least kind of compromised with the discipline of, office culture. So the first and the foremost is people have to look at their health, as all Pranavbhai also mentioned and Amitji also mentioned, and your this thing has also been insisting on it. So the first thing is that you have to first do the pranayams, the exercises, deep breathing things, and keep fit to go for work and fight the COVID if at all it is anywhere in your this thing.
Mhm.
So
And some of the skills, if you think,
yeah,
might be, from the
this is the
professional point
one
of view.
which we are using this as a platform. So more and more IT is going to be in your life, and yeah, automation, robotics, AIs. These are certain things which one can think of, exploring. So
Right.
these are the important things that are going to come and are going to be staying with us.
Okay. Okay. Another question, when you were speaking, it came up that, what is the way where they can start operating in Ahmedabad area? I don't know if you can answer specifically this.
Ahmedabad, I was told that there was the pollution level was 272 cubic meters something. I'm not a microbiologist, but that is what was, and then it came down to 72. So the whole environment has changed, but no sooner the industrial activity will boom,
No,
Ahmedabad again would
here,
maintain its.
just to intervene, here the question was, it seems to be they are export oriented, there are a lot of pending export orders. And, they were looking for a guidance how to start this particular unit in Ahmedabad. I mean, that means
I
the restart
yeah.
the activities. Yeah.
Yes, I would reply that. Actually, as I was mentioning earlier, that we represented to the chief minister that, and also to the central ministers, that export is the best way in this current scenario because of the various factors. So for export oriented unit as well as for pending orders on export, Vadodara district has annexure 6, and I think this has been on the state. It's a carpet sort of order that has been sent to all the districts. So there is an annexure 6 if you are within the corporation limit of Ahmedabad and you hold a EOU or you have pending export orders. There are certain documents like the IEC, like the pending export order, previous 1 or 2 bills for the officer to be convinced that it's a regular exporting house. These all you have to simply scan along with the annexure 6. Annexure 6 has various details of your company and send it to the official authorized. Here in Baroda, we have General Manager District Industries Center who's authorized, and in the notification by the collector as well as the police commissioner in the corporation limit areas, they have mentioned that which is the email to be used. And I believe
Okay.
that the same process is across the states. All the districts must have got a notification dated 24th of April. Because 24th of April was a decision taken to open up export-oriented units operations as well.
Right. So
So
my
they can write to
suggestion
me
to
on.
so that's exactly, that's what I was to tell, that if the participant who asked this question, if they need more detail through HRAI, they can connect with maybe Nitesh Bhai, is my
Indeed.
suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Or in fact, Nitesh Bhai can share the relevant document to HRA, who can then populate it across. It's
Sure.
a public document, and it's
Right.
very much available on the government portal too.
Right. I'll do that. I'll do that for the benefit of everyone. Yeah.
Amit, one question, very interesting question. It says that only 30% of IT company, as per the participant, are completely tech driven. It's quite a paradox, right? And the question is that what is your take on that, and how should companies plan keeping their need and budget in mind? The point is that with COVID situation, companies are forced to adopt technology. That means the IT companies also, not all of them are really, up till now adopting the technology. Now they are forced to do that, but obviously that puts a budget pressure on them. So what are your views on that?
Yeah, I think this is somewhere a rebalancing has to be done, correct? So the cost that we were earlier spending in maintaining the office space, in kind of and driving some of the activities there at office for the employee welfare, I think maybe some of that budgets needs to be spent in the communication systems to kind of enable employees and everyone to work in an environment which is needed right now. And I'm sure when everyone will start adopting to the systems, the productivity will always kind of come back to the original state where it used to be. Or in certain situations, I'm hearing like when it is work from home, you don't have a time when you start, when you stop. Right? So sometimes we end up working even that kind of more hours. So I'm not saying whether it is I mean, from the employee health point of view, it might not be a good sign, but I think from the productivity point of view, I think there are a lot of cases that we have seen it is improving the productivity. But communication solutions, I think it is still not that expensive. Microsoft Team has extended support with giving their platform for the free for the 6 months. And then Zoom at an enterprise license, it is still kind of manageable. So I think this is the investment, minimal level of investment that we will have to do. But at the end, I'm sure overall organization will kind of still save with the amount of at least saving in the other expenses that used to happen in office.
Right. Thank you. Now there are a lot of questions on HR. I think many of them, Pranav bhai, you'll have to answer offline because there are a huge amount of that.
Sure. I would request HRAI to send it across to me, and we'll try to do the justice.
Right. I'm trying to take out some of them here. It says partly you address, but very specifically, so how can HR play a vital role in being a counselor for both employees and employers and employees during this uncertainty and giving a ray of hope? So basically, how to keep the tempo up? I think that's the question.
So I think in my talk I had covered in the first question probably. Right. That HR will be the fulcrum, and HR will be the most transparent conduit. And in fact, what has happened and what I've realized is, I'm not talking only from the experience of my company, but the other companies too, while we're talking to them, that this scenario has brought in lots of empathy and sensitivity being handled in a very pleasant way and in a very humble way between each other. In fact, cutting across the various so-called org hierarchy which we had, today, in fact, everybody is on a single platform, and everybody is aware about what the other is doing. So in this aspect, if the transparency is maintained, automatically that fear of unknown that I'm the only one who is suffering from pandemic is going to go away. And everybody is in the same boat, everybody is sailing in the same boat, and everybody is going to pull it through if we are together, is something that will be instilled. So HR will be that conduit.
Right. Good. Thank you. One more is a bit different side of the topic is how the manpower company can survive in this situation. Because we don't know the job, the manpower company, HR companies.
I know. So in fact, what we realized is that there will be very smart ways in which the overall job scenario will be realigned. The companies consuming the services, for example, since I'm coming from the IT domain, and even Amit would agree, the companies and the clients which are going to consume the IT services, if they in turn are going to intermittent business, therefore even my business model or my work model also may become intermittent. And that is exactly where the manpower companies will be playing a role. They might be creating a resource pool to suffice the need of that intermittent projects or intermittent work. And the entire model probably has to work out on that. So when you started the discussion, you said that the overall trying times brings out the innovation. And so the manpower company, I sincerely suggest them to realign and rethink about the model in which they were performing till now. Look at what is happening. Believe me, if people are saying it or not, but we have to clearly make people understand we are going to see these trying times at least for a year. and therefore everybody will be passing through this intermittent scenario, and we'll have to work together. There is no magic pill or magic wand for anybody. So we have to
Right.
work out innovative solution for all together.
Right. Thank you very much. And one question, Nitish bhai, probably I think it's more of a request, not a question. But can a request be made to the banks through FGI, for attractive offering for company willing to invest in IT equipment? Because now we know IT
equipment.
needs to be, quite a, backbone. So can FGI, enable, making such requests to banks?
Sure, but if it is a specific, we have somebody who's assigned to do this role for startups for IT this thing. So if through HRAI we can get connected to that individual, if it's an individual question. But yes, definitely we can write to a ombudsman of bank in every district, so they can very well take it up. These days we have one ombudsman assigned every district to coordinate with the banks.
Okay.
Please don't take me otherwise. Can I add something to this, Gaurang?
Please, by all means.
And Nitish bhai, I'm sure you would agree with me, and probably Amit also would be aware. The MSME cell of the banks already had a scheme in place for the IT adoptions by the MSME. So considering this pandemic scenario, I'm sure with help of government and the associations like you all and Geisha together, probably yes, this is something of an innovative way in which this scheme can be extended, can be thought about, and you may please study, Nitish bhai, and we'll join it along with you. You may please study that scheme. Almost all, in fact, State Bank was a champion, and other banks is also, in fact, Axis and SDF.
Bank of Baroda is
Bank of Baroda too.
Thank you. So I think we can connect. I think one last very quick question we'll take with Amit, and then I'll hand it over to HRAI to close the call here. Amit, this says that I'm just reading the text as it is. I think COVID-19 is very great opportunity for each and every industry, as demand would be the same. We just need to take care of supply. Of course, that would be challenging. This is just a temporary pause, but after that, everybody should run on fast forwarding mode. This would path-breaking moment, especially for country like India. Is your question? That means you think that this is going to be only a pause, and we really are sitting on a great opportunity. Amit.
To an extent, I agree. I agree to an extent.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I too.
Yeah,
I too.
So I think we all will agree. And basically, historically, if you see any recession which has happened, post the recession, it has always led to a super growth. And in fact, the other thing is the amount of recession that we have seen, the longer becomes the phase of the growth. So if we talk about 2008 recession, correct? We always talk about that recession because everyone remembers it. After that recession, we had seen 12 years of continuous kind of a growth phase in and around. The intensity kind of the growth may have changed, but it has always kind of 12 years of the growth. And this has been the longest time of the growth in the history. So I think now we are talking of a kind of a big recession for a temporary phase. But I think everyone believes that this is all just kind of shaking everyone. It is shaking every industry. So the new business models will emerge. And once the new business model emerges and gets kind of adopted by everyone, I think the demand phase will soon be very back. And then since this will be a new normal, this will be a new world. So the demands also will come for the new, and for that, definitely, we will have to kind of prep up and then do a lot of things. So absolutely, I think no one has any doubt that the demand phase will come back soon, and then it will come back in a big.
Thank you very much. And when we talk about a lot of strategy, I think opportunism is, or rather, keeping the positive mood is the best strategy. Pranav bhai, there is one more last, because it keeps coming for you. Could you please elaborate more on VUCA? Few examples how some of the organizations are handling it.
Oh, VUCA is a big thing. We can have a different.
No, but how some of the organizations are handling? I think that's the question. Yeah.
Well, in fact, I just mentioned that VUCA was the way in which we worked around with our work from home guidelines at Geisha, because it cannot be a singular process. There has to be a collective way in which it has to be handled. So one thing is a necessity for VUCA is to have a collective approach, just like what Army does. And we have to chalk out each of those aspects, V, U, C, and A, and find out that mitigation on the spot. And in fact, trying times always brings out those measures. And in fact, I wanted to add something what Amit rightly said. Austerity and pragmatism is the way to move forward in this recession period or even in this VUCA scenario. So we have to be, we have to keep that in foresight while moving ahead.
Right.
And
Thank you very much.
VUCA example, I will need more time. In fact, I can talk at length, but not now because this is good. We are already
maybe another session for that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, all my co-panelists. And really, you brought out very, very important aspects about it. I'm sure panelists got things to take home. I hand it over now to HRAI team for closure.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So it has been a pleasure being with all of you.
All the
today.
panelists and the HRAI team for inviting us. I think it was a great session, learning for all of us too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
It has been definitely a pleasure being with all of you today. Thank you so much. It was an insightful webinar. Thank you, Gaurang, for moderating it very well. Thank you, Mr. Nitesh, Mr. Amit, and Mr. Pranav for joining us as a panel and sharing with us your insights and perspective, which will definitely help each one of us sail through this moment of crisis. I would also want to thank all our participants for joining us today. Looking at the time constraint that we have, I definitely knew that we couldn't answer all of your questions, but definitely we would cover and request you to kindly mail all your questions or even WhatsApp us so that we can get back to you at the earliest. I would also love to welcome you all for our tomorrow's webinar, which is at 3 p.m. on the topic Opportunity in Crisis, Surviving Pandemic. So thank you once again for joining in, and thank you,
Gaurang, Nitesh, Amit.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you all of you. Thank you, HRAI. Thank you so much.
HRAI.
Take care, all of you.
Wonderful experience.